What up, Tube? What are we doing today? Well, we're gonna take the factory springs off the Porsche and put some H&R springs on it, and we're gonna go through the procedure of what we need to do. So, my last video, I went over how to remove all these panels so we can access the upper shock towers on the rear. A little bit of a procedure. We got parts over there. We got the engine cover carpet sound deadening here. We got our H&R springs right under that. So check out my previous video and you know how to access the back. The front's a little easier. Okay, so what we're gonna need to do is we need to remove the tow arm, and we're going to use the ball joint remover for that. We're going to take the upper sway bar link off. We're going to loosen the bottom hub so we can slide this guy out. We're going to remove the caliper and put it off to the side. And ideally what we're trying to do, and lastly, we're going to undo the axle back there. Okay, and that uses a triple square. That's what we got those for. So when all that's removed, we're going to drop this down, slide it out this way, and pull the shock out of there. Alright? Alright, y'all, so excuse the fan. It's a little warm and humid today. But what we're going to do first, and it's raining. Alright. That's what you're hearing up. It's the rain. No worries. So what we're going to do is we're going to use an 18 to take that off. We're going to put a Torx in there to hold it in place. We're going to use a ratcheting wrench. We're going to what the heck is that, right? We're going to remove the upper sway bar link from the hub. And we're going to take the 6 triple square bolts out of the axle to separate it. And that's going to allow us to bring this down. We're going to rotate the rotor as that happens. And yeah, that's rain. So we're just going to get started and I'll come back, because hopefully the rain will be gone by then. Alright, so I used an 18mm ratcheting, it's a ratcheting wrench, and I'm using a T40 Torx to hold this in place on the ratchet. And that'll loosen it. And you don't want to take this all the way off. You want to take it off maybe to about 3 threads left. That way you can break this loose and it won't fall on you. Now, the reason I'm doing it here is so we don't mess up the alignment adjustment back here. You can remove it from here. It's a little easier. You don't need to use the separating tool to do it from back here. But we're trying to not mess up our alignment, because we got to drive about 25 miles to get it aligned. Now, camber, you can suffer on that for 25 miles. Tow, not fun. If you're fighting tow one side to the other, it makes for an interesting drive. So, knowing that, we're just going to go here and do it there. That's what it's going to look like. Attach the ball joint. You got to attach the lower control arm from the chassis. Pull the axle out. Lower it carefully. I use the jack. And then it pulls out. You just lean on it. Shock sits in here. Pull out the shock. And we're going to compress the springs, change all the rubber, and pull it out. Fan's moving. Alright. Shock's off. We just use your standard spring compressors. I bought these for $30 on Amazon, but you can rent them at your local parts store. I have all new pieces for this, so we're going to change the rubber pieces here. We're going to change the boot, and we're going to change the bump stop. So that's how you take it apart. Decompress this slowly, aim it at an area where you can hit just in case it slips out. I like these because they have little safety pins on them, so they usually don't come loose. We're going to put it all together and we'll come back and put it on. Alright, Tube, the rears are done. H&R spring, reattached the arm here. We matched up. We ended up having to loosen this bolt back here, so we used our paint marker to mark our line to try to get the alignment on the toe as close to good as possible, because the camber you can live with on the way to the alignment shop. If your toe is off too much, it makes for a fun drive. Everything's reattached, as you can see. And you can see my yellow paint marker. I marked here, and I marked at the very top. You're not going to be able to see it, but up here, you'll see, you might be able to see the yellow mark there. We marked that, so we know where to line up the two perches when we're tightening up the upper perch onto the new spring. And that gives you a reference point to come down on. So when we do the front, we're going to do the same thing. So the rear's all attached. Tips, take the axle bolts off last. I made the mistake on this side, and I jumped ahead. That is a lot easier if you take those off last after you've disconnected the arms. You need to loosen the rear control arm, and that'll help swing the arm down. And then getting it back up. Now, it sounds horrible, right? Getting it back up. Anyways, so getting that all back together, fortunately, you have to guide the axle into place, not put it in, but guide it up into its slot while you push the entire hub assembly with the shock and new spring attached. So this part is a two-man job. I had my neighbor come over and help me real quick, and I was under. He moved it, guided it into place. You get the lower bolt in there, which sits over there, and once that's in, you can tap it in, and it makes life a little easier. So next is the front. I got everything set up over there. We'll take care of the front. Front should be a lot easier, and yeah, we're almost done. So now we're moving to the front. Come on, camera. So now we're moving to the front. We took all these plastic covers off and just threw them down there. But it's the covers of the battery and then your accessory covers here. You're going to expose the 3 upper bolts, and then here's the center bolt to the shock. So yes, I have my C-Tech running right now because we have everything open, so I didn't want to drain the battery because we've been working all day. So locking itself because I just unlocked it. Alright, back to what we're doing. We're going to remove the toe arm using the ball joint removal tool. This guy right there, like we did in the back. We're going to loosen the traction arm, which is right here. Okay, there's a big bolt there. It's a 22 on the top, or sorry, 21 mil on the top, 18 on the bottom, and pull that bolt out. And then we're going to loosen the control arm in here, and that'll allow you to swing the arm down. You also have to take the sway bar bolt off. That'll loosen this joint here. You can see this is already separated. I put the jack under just so it doesn't fall too far. And just like the back, you're going to disconnect all the sensors. You're going to pull these off, unplug them carefully. I hung the caliper out in the back. So once the top nuts are off, this will pull down and we'll take it out. And then we'll pull the spring on just like we did on the back. We'll compress the spring and put the new bump stop and hardware on there. So we're going to get to it, and we'll come back when it's all on. Alright, y'all, it's all complete. Bolts tightened up top. You can see we got the new bump stop in, the new boot, new hardware, new nut on top. We just replaced everything. And like we did on the rear, we marked it here with yellow paint, and then up top as well, so we can line those up. It makes it easier when you're putting this, lining it back in up to the upper 3 holes. The top 3 bolts are 13s. We retighten the control arm back there. We tighten the tie rod. We never adjusted it from here. We took it out here with the ball joint remover tool. That way I didn't mess up our toe alignment. Our camber might be a little off. The Porsche Cayman actually adjusts the camber from the top bolts. I try to put it back right where it is, but camber again will still get me to the alignment shop. Caliper tightened, sensors all back on, plugged in together. Everything's tightened up. Everything's nice and snug. The front I left to the back, to the end, because the rear is the hard part. That took some work. That takes about 75% of the time. And this job, according to a local Porsche dealership and my local mechanic, clocks in at about 10 hours. Most of it's that area. Taking the interior apart to access the upper, that's in the previous video. Getting everything apart on this, the 3 arms, moving it out of the way, carefully lowering it. I had put some tape on the fender wells here and here, just in case, to make sure we don't scratch anything. 2 layers of blue tape. Yeah, that's it. You're gonna need 19. You're gonna need 19 wrenches, 19 socket. 18 is popular, socket and wrench. I have an electric impact as well as an air impact. I use the electric the whole time. And then you're gonna need your Torx. And we used a T47, I believe it was. Get a Torx set. They're 20 bucks on Amazon. It's totally worth it if you're working on a German car. And then also triple square. You only use one of them for the axles in the back. The putting of that back on was not very hard at all. Putting of that back on, that's proper English for you right there, guys. Anyhow, it's all complete. We just got to put the wheels on, set it down, drive it to get aligned in 2 days, because tomorrow's got busy, work, 9 to 5. So we're going to drive it to the alignment shop, and then we're just waiting for our wheels to show up. And I can't wait, because it should be just a couple more weeks. So, y'all, if you like what you saw, we tried to cover everything, not in super detail. If you have a Torx set, if you have a triple square set, it is more cost effective to buy a set than it is to just buy one. Get yourself a couple sets. It's less than $50 for both of those. If you have a German car, you'll appreciate it. Add that to your toolbox. Everything else is your standard socket metric stuff that you have. You can use hand tools. I did use my ratchet and wrenches. I have gear wrench, metric wrenches with the ratcheting wrenches, sorry, you know, and that does help. The only thing I would need to add out of all this that I didn't have that would have made life a little easier is a 21 millimeter ratcheting wrench to take the upper nut off on the shocks when you're doing that. It uses an Allen key to hold the shock in place, and then you slide a box end wrench on the end, which I did have a 21 standard box end, and that will loosen the nut. Ratcheting will just gone a little faster. Other than that, just everything I did myself. My dad was here just handing me tools and just hanging out, and then I just needed to get my neighbor's help to get this knuckle realigned. So he pushed it in while I aligned the axle. So everything just lined up itself, and then you get the alignment bolt for your camber that goes back in. That's this guy right there. You need to realign all that. So once that slips in, when you get that started, then the rest of the assembly of the rear is very simple. So you may need help on that. That's the hardest part. Other than that, y'all, hope you enjoyed it. Never did this on a Porsche before. Our Cayman is now got H&R springs on it, new bump stops, new dust boots, new upper bearings on the front, new bearing shield, and new nuts on the top of the shocks. The shocks are in really good condition. No signs of any wear, abnormal. Cleaned everything off in that area. Checked the pads while we were there to make sure the pad life is good. That checked out. Caliper looked good. That checked out. So when you're in here doing this, check out all your stuff. All right. Invest in a little bit of money to get a factory service manual. That does help. There's other videos for reference, but I hope this one did help y'all. If you have a Porsche Cayman, again, this is a 2009 Porsche Cayman 987.2, so second generation 987. It's a little bit different than a 987.1, which would be the 08 and previous generation, or in previous years. I did use some of the videos online for guidance on that, but if you liked what you saw, if you liked what we went through here in our home garage, go ahead and give us a like, go ahead and subscribe, hit the notification bell. We really appreciate it, and I thank you all for watching. Have a great week, and God bless.